Am I wrong for telling my daughter's teacher that she is being freaking stupid? My 11-year-old daughter is in the 6th grade this year, and she's been working really hard in math. She has gotten over 80% in every class test so far by sheer blood, sweat, and tears. She never used to be particularly good at school and exams, but she's of course an amazing kid in a million ways, but really struggled with math and other subjects. Now her math teacher has a pin board where she posts the names of kids that worked hardest that week. She then gives the kids a small reward like a chocolate bar, and I thought it was a great idea because it motivates the kids who struggle with math. Well, my daughter was crying a few weeks ago, saying she's never picked as the week's hardest worker. So I asked her how the teacher picks, and she said while she's not sure, it does tend to seem like it's the kids that actually don't do good on the test. And then if they show a little improvement, they go on the board. And this seemed really unfair to me to the kids who do work hard and score well, like my daughter. So my daughter was crying a few weeks ago because she's never picked as the week's hardest worker. She told me that the teacher usually picks the kids that don't do great in tests, and if they show a little improvement, they go on the board. And this seemed really unfair to the kids who actually work hard and score well, like my daughter. Yesterday, we had the first parent-teacher meeting of the year, and I brought it up to the math teacher. She basically said that my daughter only does well because she is naturally talented, so she wants to give the hard worker rewards to the kids who are actually working for every mark. I just blew up on her and yelled at her and called her effing idiot. I said she has no idea how much my daughter studies, even though she's only in the 6th grade for F's sake. I also said it's really unfair to obviously favor the kids who don't get the good grades. I do feel guilty for making a scene, and also, is the teacher right? I might be biased because I'm not a teacher and my daughter's involved.
Am I the asshole for leaving my own wedding because my husband embarrassed me? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I, 27 female, and my husband, 29 male, have been together for 3 years. In those 3 years, I have never known him to be selfish. Occasionally immature, yes, but even that was rare. These problems arose when those stupid cake smashing videos got popular, and my husband thought they were hilarious. I never thought they were funny, and he knows that, yet he always showed me the videos of those poor wives getting their happiest day ruined by their asshole partner for some cheap laughs. He also knows that I have a history with cake smashing. My family does the cake smashing thing. I remember it was my 17th birthday, and I pleaded with my mom to not do it. She promised, and I trusted her. I had my hair and makeup done, all nice, and right as I blew out my candles, my mom pushed my head into the cake. It was one of those decorations on the cake that ended up slicing my forehead. Not enough to go to the hospital, but enough for some substantial bleeding. My birthday was ruined, and after that, I wouldn't come out of the room. My mom still calls me a brat for that. I told him if he ever did something like that to me, I'd leave him. He started laughing, but I was being for real. Though he really was not taking me seriously. Now skip to a few days ago when my wedding happened. Everything was perfect. I was happy. He was happy. I was excited for our new lives as newlyweds. I felt like a princess in my poofy white dress and hair done up with perfect makeup. All very expensive things, I would like to mention. We get to the cake cutting part. As I turn to him, he scoops up a huge chunk of our wedding cake and smashes it all over my face. Everything just seemed to go in slow motion for a few moments. He just laughed at me. Then he says, "You should see your face," and continues to laugh. Other people in the crowd, mostly my family, is also laughing at me. Then I just start walking away. He realizes that I'm leaving and tries to catch up with me and says I'm being extra. I push him away and order an Uber. As I got outside, most of the crowd is following me, telling me to come back. I get into the Uber and drive away. I drove to our apartment and packed most of my things and went to stay at a hotel. I currently, though, am staying at a friend's house. My family and his family have been blowing my phone up for days, saying I'm being childish and my husband is a good man, but it was just a joke. My husband has been calling me off the hook, telling me to please come home and that he wants to talk, that he's sorry and didn't think I'd get that emotional. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and he embarrassed me in front of everyone for some prank he knew I hated. Not only that, he ruined a $500 cake. He ruined my makeup, my hair, and on top of that, my dress. The cake got all over it. Though I still do love him, I'm wondering, was I the asshole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Update, my husband smashed cake into my face on our wedding day, and I left him. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list a source in the caption of this video. I just wanted to update you all on a few things. I haven't gotten my stuff from my ex yet. I haven't had the energy to because I'm still extremely upset, obviously. From the videos online to the comments I received on my original post to also the comments I looked at on the repost of my post, it kind of made me think that there was probably a lot of red flags and I was just so used to being The bare minimum was enough for me. After speaking about it with my friend, she said there definitely was a lot of red flags. She had even told me I should stay far away from dating until I get some help because I was obviously not seeing the red flags right in front of me. I'm not going to go into it, but sometimes I'd have to cook 2 dinners for my ex because he didn't like anything I made. His mom apparently didn't get him used to vegetables, so he won't eat them. Or making fun of my cramps on my period. That's what I'm referring to when I said he was immature. Someone texted me saying if I was sure he cheated on me. No, I'm not sure. At the moment, it just felt like it made sense because of how horrible he was being. Though they made a good point, the sister very much well could have been trying to kick me while I was down, since I was leaving anyways. I have no evidence, and I will probably never have evidence. I unblocked him just to tell him I was coming over in a few days to get my stuff, and if he could just not be there and that I'd leave my keys. He said it was fine and that was it. So he will not be there when I get the rest of my belongings. I will also bring a friend with me in case he does do something. I'm still not speaking to my family, and I think I'm just gonna go no contact like people suggested. I saw a video from a woman speaking about me, and someone in the comments said I was to this treatment, which is why he felt like it was okay to do this. Maybe she was right. When I get my financials in order, I think I'll try therapy and wait a few years before attempting to date anyone. I also kept getting this question. How did the Uber come so quick? The wedding venue was in the city, in a building. The Uber took 30 seconds to order and 3 minutes to get there. Plus, who was really going to stop me from getting into the car? My husband gave up pretty fast once he saw me trying to get into the car. I thought it was weird, but I realize now, playing victim because he didn't get his way. Some of you may be saying, how did you not realize you were being abused? I don't know. Sometimes it just happens that way. My brain is kind of dead at this point. Again, thank you to literally everyone for all of the sweet comments and everyone messaging me privately. To the people saying this is fake, I don't care. I went on this app because I figured I'd get a few comments. And now I'm going to move forward with my life. So this is the last update. I'm going to respond to the PMs, then forget about this account and hopefully my old life. It's genuinely too depressing for me to think about. Edit, I'm okay. I feel lonely and depressed, but I have friends supporting me, so I'm not that alone. I'll be okay and get myself out of this hole. I realize this post is a bit doom and gloom. Edit 2, I'll bring a policeman with me if you guys say I should. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments.
I, 26 male, slept in the same bed as my mom, 49 female, while she was staying in town. My girlfriend, 24 female, finds it odd. My girlfriend and I have been dating for about 4 months now. My mom was coming into town and planned to stay with a friend of hers, but the train got delayed so late that the friend couldn't pick her up. I went to pick her up and she asked if she could stay the night at my apartment. I said yes, of course. This all happened when I was hanging out with my girlfriend. The conversation went like this. My girlfriend said, "Are you sleeping in the same bed as her?" "Yes." "That's weird." "What are you gonna do? Have sex with your mom? Don't you think that's weird?" "No." "I don't know where this is coming from. It's just sleeping in the same bed. My mom and I have never had that type of relationship and it's gross that you would suggest that." My girlfriend said, "I don't know. It seems weird to me. My family has always been close. We are tighter knit than a lot of families and sometimes it can make people jealous of our kinship. We travel together all the time and get hotels with 2 queen beds where I would stay in the same bed as my sister, 22 female. I don't see sleeping in the same bed as a family member being weird. I would rather sleep in my bed than sleep on the couch or kick my mom onto the couch." Fast forward to today. She's still sending jabs through messages asking if my mom and I played footsies last night in bed and asking if I was going to change the sheets or if I preferred my mom's smell on them. I told her that the comments were making me uncomfortable and I'd prefer if they stop. She then goes on to tell me that she's just not getting the clarity on how this relationship is any different from her ex's relationship with his mother, saying that her ex was very close with the mom and the mom did not like her at the end of the relationship, calling her explicit names and judging her from something that my girlfriend told her ex and her ex told the ex's mom. Something she won't tell me because it's the reason that it ended the past relationship. She also said the main reason that she's upset about this topic is the dynamic of the enmeshment was a horrible experience for her. I'm not sure of my girlfriend's relationship with her parents. We met on a dating app and we're learning as we go. It seems to me that their family is not as close as mine. Do you think it's the reason that she thinks it's weird? Is she intimidated or jealous of my mom? It seems like she wants me to distance myself from my mother to not be like her ex. All this to say, should I be worried about this from her? Is this a red flag?
I found out he was cheating because of a tampon. Story time. I've been married to Steve for 4 years now, and everything had been absolutely fine. Even Steve would say that we were still in our honeymoon phase all these years on. Never thought to even question this until I found a little surprise in his car. So randomly one day I sat in the back of my own car, which can we just talk about what a weird experience that is, and I found a tampon squished in between the cushions between the seats. Now this wouldn't have been a red flag if it weren't for the fact that I'd had the coil for the past 3 years. I literally could not even tell you what brand it was from the wrapper. So I brought this to Steve's attention that night. And of course, being a man, he had no clue what it was. Nor did he understand the significance of it either. Fucking idiot. So I dumbed it down for Steve. I explained everything, why I was holding it, why I wouldn't need to use it. And he was like, "Oh, that'll be Amy's." And Amy is his co-worker. Apparently they'd all gone out for lunch together one day and she sat in the back of the car. And I'm fairly close to Amy and her husband, so I figured it was a reasonable excuse. So I let it go. I almost forgot about it, to be fair. Then one day we were having dinner with Amy and her husband around her house. But throughout the meal, I was just getting a vibe. Can't tell you what the vibe was. I faked coming on my period a little bit early and I was like, Amy, listen, have you got any tampons that I could use? Call me Sherlock Holmes. And then she took me to her bathroom and pulls out of the cupboard the exact same tampon that was in my husband's car. So the tampon in the car was most likely Amy's. An innocent explanation to all of this, right? Wrong. This morning, I found another one of the exact same tampons in my underwear drawer. Instantly, I felt physically ill. And I am convinced that this girl is leaving me little signs that my husband is actually having an affair. It feels like a weird Easter egg hunt. So now, these are my questions. If it really is Amy having the affair with my husband, why would she try and tell me via tampon? And also, she's married, so why would she want to sort of out herself? Then again, is it too big of a coincidence? Or is it somebody else completely, and should I start leaving little Easter eggs for her? Do I leave notes attached to the tampon like, hi, stop getting with my husband, please? Or do I just confront Steve about the whole thing now? Please help me.
Am I wrong for ditching my assigned bridesmaid at a wedding for one that is younger and a different race as me? One of my good buddies from college, Tom, was getting married to his wife, Liz. He asked me to be one of his groomsmen. I was honored as I hadn't seen him in a while because I do live across the country. When I arrived to a city, I was assigned a bridesmaid called Kelly. Now, Kelly is a lovely woman. However, I think we were only assigned because we're both black. Liz starts telling me that we're both single and perfect for one another, but there was nothing else to indicate that. I should also add as well that Liz had a lot more bridesmaids than Tom had groomsmen. Well, the first night, the entire wedding party went out and it became clear that Kelly did want to hook up. I wasn't into her, so I kindly turned her down. But then she starts interrogating me as to why, and I tried to give her a generic answer, but then she starts listing off reasons why we're perfect. I end up saying I don't do the whole short-term type thing, and we both live in different states, so there's no future. She cools off and tells me she respects me more for that, and I'm the type of guy she's looking for. Now, one of the unmatched bridesmaids, let's call her Jen, starts messaging me privately, and we hit it off. So the next day, the wedding ceremony goes well, we have the reception, and me and Kelly do the entrance, then dance for a bit. Then I go to the bar, and Jen and I start to dance, and at this point, Kelly is giving me dirty looks. All is going well until I'm at the bar and Kelly and Liz confront me, started saying that me dancing with Jen is inappropriate. I'm 32 and she's 24, about to be 25, and that's when I say we're just friends. Then Kelly starts saying I must have a fetish for white women, and at this point I realize there's no logical argument. So I tell them I enjoy the wedding, but I need to go to bed early for my flight the next day, so I left. Then Jen left 15 minutes later and we both got kicked out of the chat.
I anonymously reported my dad for a 35-year-old unsolved murder. My dad is a fuck. He abused my mom for 20 years and abused me as a kid. There's a lot of detail I don't feel like going into because I dealt with it all day yesterday and I'm exhausted. I haven't talked to him in almost a year. Yesterday I wrote him an email explaining all the bullshit he put me through as a kid and that if he ever wants a chance at a relationship with me, he needs to go to therapy. I told my mom about it after I sent it, and I guess it triggered something in her. She started crying and telling me about the things he'd done that she had never mentioned before. Stuff from when they were teens. She told me through tears and pain about how she'd had this unsolved murder from their hometown on her mind lately. My parents and their siblings were friends with her. She went out for a run and disappeared. Won't go into detail about the location and shit, but my dad and his brother, who was also a fuck, weren't seen all day on the day of her disappearance. They suddenly up and moved states not long after. My mom told me she always had a terrible feeling about it, but was too scared to prod. She just repressed it, like with all the other fuck shit my dad did to her and to others throughout the years. So, fuck it.
Thank you.
I sent an anonymous tip to the PD of that town. I told him what she told me, said these guys are in my family and both have a history of nefarious shit. I told him I think they should be reinvestigated with updated forensics since I'm sure DNA has come far in the last 35 years. If they didn't do it, they'll be fine. A little scared and inconvenienced by an interview for a 35-year-old murder, but ultimately fine. If they did do it, fuck them. He spent his entire life avoiding the consequences of his fucked up actions. If he's a murderer, he deserves to have the consequences of that brought down on him hard. Plus, the family of that poor girl deserves closure. Her mom has now passed and will never know the truth. The rest of her family deserves better. I'll be happy if they get it. Today I fucked up by sending nudes to my pastor. I was taking some steamy pictures of my girlfriend. With her permission, I sent some pictures to a friend on Snapchat. I didn't pay attention and sent them all to a pastor who's married. To be fair, my friend and pastor have a very similar username. I didn't notice it at all for a while until I got a message from him. That went south as his wife was next to him when he opened them. He contacts me angrily stating that he's in trouble and why would I even send those types of pictures to him. He was asking me that if I have lusting issues and when would I be able to see him to take care of this issue. My girlfriend was so hard laughing as he was berating me on the phone. She even said let's send him more jokingly. I thought things were over after that night, but I was wrong. The pastor has told some people what I had done. Some were angry that I had done that. A few had asked if I was willing to share some of the photos I sent over. Lesson learned, pay attention who you forward your snaps to.
Since they blocked me on everything, I didn't try to reach out since it would be a waste of effort, but I didn't block them back. If they wanted to talk, I was fine with it. 2 days ago, I was unblocked by my friend. She asked if we could call and talk about what happened, and I agreed. She apologized for blowing up at me like she did, but also told me she was still upset. I was only made aware because of the comments and now heard that wearing wedding attire to anything wedding related is common sense. All I knew was the no way on the wedding day. Honestly, after people informed me, I felt awful and downright stupid. So I apologized back for not running it through her like I should have since I didn't know. I know lots of people were telling me to cut her off, but I've known her since I was 14, so I'm glad we can stay friends. Her husband, on the other hand, he had told her that he came up to me and asked me to change. And apparently I told him it didn't matter because I was already there, or something along those lines. She was crying a lot while telling me this. After she blew up at me and I told her the real story, she got pissed at her husband. The husband suggested both of them block me so the fight would stop. She agreed to it but was still upset by it all. Eventually, she started asking people who were at the wedding to see what happened. 3 people saw me walk up to him and heard me ask. This is where she learned that her husband lied to her. Again, a huge fight between the two. Turns out he's hated me ever since I met them 5 years ago. They had already been dating for a year beforehand. I became good friends with her, but not him. He felt as though I was trying to take his girlfriend. I don't know what I did to make him feel this way. I don't know why he'd wait 5 years, but he decided the day of his wedding was the best time to get rid of me. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to them in the future. She's staying at another friend's house until her and her husband are able to talk about it. I doubt I'll update anymore like, update, they're getting a divorce, because that feels insensitive. Again, thanks to everyone for all of the advice and points of views. It helped me so much.
This is the story time of the first time that I saw my mother. Hi, that was weird. Like, I just know TikTok has really strict guidelines and like, I just don't need to be taken down today. Something you have to know about my mother is that she was like, oh, I would never smoke again. I would never do that. Like, I'm too old for that. It's disgusting. Like, I hate people who do it. Like, that was her kind of vibe. So my mom and her ex-boyfriend used to like host these dinners for me, his kids, my sisters, everybody, and we would all just like come together and eat dinner together. This was like a weekly thing for us. So we're at dinner and I'm sat next to my mom, but across from mom's ex-boyfriend's son. Let's call him Chad. So I'm sitting across from Chad and Chad and I are having a conversation. Some fucking reason, Chad and I are talking about DaBaby, the rapper. It was like 3 years ago, so like he was a vibe back then. Chad and I are talking and we're like, yeah, I love this music, I love that music, and my mom interrupts. My mom's like, Liv, you went to high school with this kid? And I'm like, no, what? Like, whose grade was he in? Was he in your grade or Sissy's grade? I'm like, Mom, we're talking about DaBaby, a rapper. She's like, I fucking heard the conversation. What high school did he go to? I'm like, I don't, somewhere in North Carolina, I don't fucking know. So I just ignore her because she always does weird shit like that. So I just go back to talking to Chad. We're still talking about DaBaby. My mother interrupts again and she's like, wait, Liv, did you date him? I'm like, Mom, what the fuck? What are you talking about? She's like, I just want to know if you dated this man. I'm like, Mom, I didn't fucking date DaBaby. Like, what do you, she's like, I want to know how you know him. I'm like, Mom, I listen to his music. It's not that fucking deep. At this point, Chad is across from me and he's like, Dina, like DaBaby, the rapper, like the song Bop. I'm like, Mom, you love the song Bop. Like, you know who we're talking about. Whatever. Chad and I go back to talking about DaBaby. My mother interrupts for a third time. She's like, Liv, when did you meet him? When'd you meet him? And I'm like, Mom, what the fuck are you on right now? I never met DaBaby. Oh, fuck you, Liv. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I never thought anything of this. But then 10 minutes later, my mom's talking and she's giving some speech about something and she's making absolutely no sense. Then she just bursts out laughing. Like, she can't stop laughing, and nothing she said was fucking funny. Like, literally nothing she said was funny at all. And she's at the point where she's like uncontrollably laughing, and we're all just like looking at each other. I'm like looking at my mom's ex's sons, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with her? So I'm like, Mom, are you high? She's like, yeah, I did an edible 30 minutes ago. She's like, this is the best fucking edible I've ever had in my life. Her and her ex-boyfriend are like laughing and they're smiling. So they both did the fucking edible. I'm like, Mom, what? Like, you don't smoke. And she's like, fuck off, Liv. I'm like, okay, noted. Go to part 2. So it comes to our attention that like our parents are high and we're like, really guys, like whatever. But we're like, if you guys are high, we're gonna get high too. I literally don't know what was in it, but immediately I'm like the most giggly, happy version of myself. So we all decide that we're gonna play the game Heads Up, where you put the thing on your head and it's like a famous person and you're on teams and whatever. And my mom loves that game. So she's like, we gotta play Heads Up. And we're like, bitch, we're gonna play Heads Up. At this point, I'm so high and I'm on a team with my mom and we're playing Heads Up. We're so high, we're not even talking to each other. Like, we're doing a charades version of Heads Up, which is fucking impossible. Imagine trying to be like Kourtney Kardashian, but doing it in charades. You're like, you know what I mean? But we're so high, we're not even realizing. And we're just dying fucking laughing because we just think everything is like the funniest thing ever. Like, my mom can barely breathe. She's laughing so hard. The boys are like rolling on the floor fucking laughing. Like, I don't know what was in it, but we were like giggly as ever. Mom kept being like, this is the best edible I've ever had since like 1995 or something. She literally just like kept talking about this one strain of edible that was like a dragon or something. So she kept talking about this fucking dragon strain and we were like, okay, stop with the dragon strain, bitch. Mother's still asking questions about DaBaby and I'm like, okay, having to play her a song. Like, Mom, this is who we were talking about the whole time. And she's like, oh my, I love his music. Mom's like, he's such a talented young man. I'm gonna play all of his music in my Pilates classes. I'm like, Mom, I know you're high as shit. Don't play DaBaby in Pilates. We played Heads Up that night for 4 fucking hours. My mom would not let us stop playing. She's like, it's too good. It's too good. We have to keep playing. And we were like, okay. Just like high out of our minds. Like, why not? I kid you not. That is still one of my favorite nights to this day. Like, nobody was on their phone. We were all just hanging out, laughing our fucking asses off, and just, it was literally such a good fucking time. Literally the first time and last time I actually ever saw my mother high. But that bitch is a fun high. That is the story time of how I got high with my mom for the first time. And how she literally thought I was fucking DaBaby.
I just found out that the guy my ex-wife has been dating for 2 years is a registered sex offender. So yeah, this week has been a roller coaster. Last Friday morning, my wife was Googling the boyfriend for one reason or another, most likely related to upcoming court dates. First thing we found after Googling him was that he had a DUI and a revoked license. Well, that's not good, but then the next thing she showed me. There he was in the National Database of Registered Sex Offenders. The incident happened over 20 years ago, which would put him around 18 years old. He had sexually attacked a child under 12. Holy that's up, right? Holy I've been sending my kids over there for over 2 years and I had no clue. This launched a CPS investigation at the school. My children are 12, 9, and 7. I would never have sent them there if I knew this dude liked children. Me and my wife are so goddamn mad. We have been dealing with my ex-wife's bullshit for 2 years and she never once told me she knew he was a kid fucker. How do I know she knew? Because in my mind, if CPS calls you and tells you the man you're dating is a registered sex offender, then you would fly off the handlebars. Jump into survival instinct mode. Nope, not her. She will not admit she knew, lies to me that he never lived there. I have so much text proof. Just lies, lies, lies. Well, thankfully, when I took her to court last time, I was awarded full custody because she was, get this, arrested 10 minutes after work with weed, ecstasy, and meth in her purse, on her way to pick up the kids. This woman has done no good for anybody. Best thing she did was lay there and get pregnant so I can have my children. I have revoked all visitation and she has to get caught up in the $9,000 in overdue child support before I even entertained the idea of a supervised visit. I just needed to ram. I'm even leaving stuff out because it's not a soap opera, it's a rant.
I can't believe this actually happened to me, and I actually blame myself. So, a little background story. A friend of mine needed a place to crash, and I live in a 3-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend. I've known her since we were kids. We were very close. I've never had any issues with her, and she has been there for me when I needed her in the past. So, since I had 2 bedrooms no one was staying in, I agreed to let her come stay with me for some time till she finds her own apartment. She was always helping around the house. So, even when after 3 months she had still not gotten her own apartment, I didn't really mind. After she had stayed with us for 6 months, she told me she was 3 months pregnant. The father of the baby didn't want anything to do with her, and she had no one else. And And since I didn't have anything bad to say about her, I agreed to let her stay with us till she gave birth. All hell broke loose when she got to the third trimester. Now, I'm a fashion designer and I make good money. I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years, but basically I'm the one looking after him. He quit his job 2 years ago because he wanted to concentrate on making music, and I've supported him ever since. I felt ashamed to tell my friends this, so I always brag about how he was the one sponsoring me when I was the one doing everything. So they thought he was the one who rented my apartment, bought my car, and basically taking care of me. Now, when my friend got to the third trimester of her pregnancy, I overheard her arguing with my boyfriend. Apparently, the baby was his. She wanted to know why he couldn't rent an apartment for her and give her the money she had asked him for. And my boyfriend was telling her to be patient. That was when everything became clear to me. She really thought my boyfriend was loaded and she has been secretly seeing him behind my back. I laughed quietly to myself. I went quietly into the room and asked both of them to pack and leave my apartment that same day. It took her a few minutes to realize she had fucked up. My boyfriend left that night without even telling her where he was going, and she begged me to let her stay for some time because of her condition. I felt bad for her and I think I caused all this in a way. I shouldn't have lied.
I am the portal. The following couple minutes, she was coming down and seemed confused, and then she broke into a huge crying fit. I'm thinking that the trip's over. Now comfort, explain, damage control. I tell her that she's okay now. Everything's okay. You used a DMT pen, not my dad pen. She cut me off with, I am God. This spooked the fuck out of me, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what to do, so I just started shouting, stop, please wait, while she ran outside, still naked. I have lots of neighbors, nosy ones, and I'm chasing a naked woman asking her to stop. Not a good look. Eventually, she gets winded and lays on the grass, stares up and chants nonsense. I'm on the phone with paramedics at this point, and no surprise the cops are pulling up. I was extremely worried and told the exact truth. I live in Canada where these substances don't mean big legal trouble. The girl had a psychotic episode that was DMT induced, obviously. Apparently, she came to her senses hours later but is still suffering from mental confusion. My neighbors probably think that I'm a rapist now.
My boyfriend ruined my life, so I ruined his family. Story time. I was with my ex-boyfriend, who we'll call Steve, for 10 years. We were high school sweethearts, and we had a brilliant relationship up until we finished college. Safe to say, adulthood has been putting a strain on our relationship. We've been struggling to pay bills. I should probably say I've been struggling to pay bills because Steve refuses to get a job. He claims that Twitch is his job, yet all he does is live stream him playing games to literally about 5 people. We recently started arguing loads. Like, it was really bad, and it got to the point where we weren't even sleeping in the same room anymore. I was adamant we were going to make this relationship work. We'd been together since we were like 16. We'd grown up together. I was not about to throw all of this away, so we went to therapy, and you know what, it was actually going really well until I found out I was pregnant. Long story short, I actually ended up losing the baby. As you can probably tell, this absolutely ruined me. It wrecked my body, it wrecked my mental health, and through this period Steve was just like, well, maybe you should get back into losing the weight that you've put on, and just overall was not supportive at all. But through all of it, I really was not ready to give up. That was until I found these messages. He left his iPad, all things out, and all of these messages started popping up from my childhood best friend, Amy. Turns out that Steve and Amy had been seeing each other for 6 months. And this is where the revenge plan started. So as soon as he got home, I gave him the opportunity to tell the truth. I just came out and said it. I was like, babe, are you cheating on me? And he said he wasn't. I said, one more time, this is your last chance. Are you cheating on me? I just laughed in his face. He looked so confused, obviously. I was going to make sure that this man would never forget it. And I don't know what happened then, but like a switch flicked in this man's head and he decided to confess everything to me. I heard him out, I didn't say anything, and then I finished with an absolute belter of a line. And I said, well, thank you, because now I feel less guilty. I said, because whilst you were away, I had your brother over. His face dropped. Louis is his big brother. 6'4", tall, dark and handsome. Steve had always felt very second best to his brother, so I knew it would cut deep. Whatever Steve did, his brother could do 10 times better. And let me tell you, I can back up that claim. It's kind of the ideal situation, really, because I can very easily just cut off my best friend. But you know, it's a little bit harder to cut off your brother. So after that, Steve started to cry. He said, why didn't I just break up with him if I knew the whole time? I looked him square in the eye and said, because when you go low, I go lower.